Yo, welcome to the SC Experience, aka your boy Eric, man, and we're back with another live, and this is a very special one here. Of course, Arizona Cardinals versus Raiders preview, and of course, I got a very special guest, the host of the He's on Fire podcast, of course, Coach Evan B. How are you doing today, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for inviting me. Not doing well today, to be honest with you. I felt a little sick today. I had to take a sick day from work and feeling better as the night goes on, but always good enough to talk about my sports teams for better or for worse, man.
Hey, I feel you. I felt under the weather today too, but we out here, right? We're here to talk some football. So shout out to the chat. I see everybody in here, man. I appreciate you guys coming on a Friday night over here. Blessings to you guys. You guys already know tough times never last, but tough people do, man. And you guys are awesome, tough people. Shout out to everybody in the chat so far. Um, let's start off right off the bat, man. How did you become an Arizona Cardinals fan?
Born and raised, man. Born and raised in Arizona. Got hit with the Valley Fever when the Charles Barkley and the Suns took over the early 90s, and that just kind of had a trickle down effect to all the sports teams there, from the obviously the D-backs and Coyotes and Cardinals, and all the way down to the Rattlers, Mercury, Arizona State, all the good stuff. So, born and raised, born and raised.
Got you. There you go. And I hate to start off on this note right here, to start off the preview, but we of course both took an L to AFC West teams in week one. Of course, we're gonna recap the first week, and we're gonna start off with you and the Chiefs game. What did you see from your team, the Arizona Cardinals? What did you see from them? What did you like? Was there any game balls? I guess.
Man, I didn't see a damn thing I liked. I don't think anybody on that team deserved a game ball. They all deserve kicks in the asses, and I really hope that they got their shit straight during practice this week, because a lot needed to change. They weren't ready to go. I have huge concerns about Cliff Kingsbury and the way he runs his team overall, and I've wanted him gone for 2 years, by the way. Vance Joseph, our defensive
Mhm.
coordinator, who you guys know probably very well since he was with the Broncos X amount of years ago. His play calling and the way he was putting guys in schemes like Lecky Fotu, our interior defensive lineman, he's dropping him in coverage against Patrick Mahomes 10 to 15 yards deep in a zone coverage. Stuff like that makes no sense. Putting our second year middle linebacker Zaven Collins on a tight end or a wide receiver that's running a 20-yard post, like things like that don't make any sense at all. So major concerns, major concerns. And people want to say, like, I don't think Kyler Murray was the problem. He wasn't the reason we lost. And you're right. He's not the reason why we lost, but I don't think he did anything to try to help put us over the hump either. He missed a lot of things. So there's a lot of bad things going on right now. At the end of the day, it is only one game. It is only week one. Last year, if you remember, when the Packers played the Saints, it was that weird game they had to move to Jacksonville,
Yeah.
in week one. It was like a 44-3 loss or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the
Horrible.
Packers win like the next 8 in a row, right? So
Mhm.
anything can happen. It's only week one. The Cardinals have a tendency to be awful at the end of the year and can't finish and open up strong. So maybe this is changing it back a little bit to, let's start off bad and finish strong. But who knows? I don't have hope though, but that's just me right now and where I stand with the team.
Hey, I feel you on that one. And with the quarterback play, for you, you said he didn't put you over the hump. For us, our quarterback actually was one of the major reasons on why we lost. Of course, heading into of course, LA, we were going in against a tough team right off the bat. We got a new system, new coaching staff, new everything in general, a lot of new pieces. Time to gel. And I always said this before the season even kicked off that hopefully we get not so easier teams because it's any given Sunday, but I would say easier teams than the Chargers right off the bat, so we could have time to gel. But instead, they give us the Chargers, and the whole Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa was the hype was real, and we seen them again
Yeah.
yesterday against the Kansas City Chiefs. They did cause havoc a little bit there too. So at the end of the day, they were the reasons why we lost. Derek Carr didn't look too good at all. Hopefully, he could bounce back, and overall. Our team just didn't look prepared, if that makes sense, right? I blame this a lot on the head coaching. Of course, it's only the first game, like you said. We could win the next six, like you said. We could win the next 10. We could win out, for all we know. But at the end of the day, it was a pretty, the score line says something else by losing only by 5. But when you really look at the game, the Raiders did not look good at all. Um, uh, oh, what was that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember watching that game and just thinking about Derek Carr, who somebody in the first quarter tweeted out, "Yo, when are we going to start giving Derek Carr his respect?" And I'm like, "Pump the brakes. Let's see what happens through the rest of the game." And sure enough, it was Derek Carr. So you know, this game starts and ends with a quarterback situation, right? So
Mhm.
I got a couple questions for you, if you don't mind,
Oh
about
yeah.
Derek Carr. Do you have faith that Derek Carr can be the man to get you guys over the hump?
Uh, yeah, but a lot of the fan base will tell you no. It's really a division, but when it comes to Carr, for me, I feel like he's a good enough quarterback to do it right. You think of people like Jimmy Garoppolo that got to the bowl. He's not an elite
Sure.
quarterback, but he is good enough to get you there, right? I think Carr is good enough to get there. It's sometimes he just gets in his own head, and I think that's the only thing holding him back, right? If he gets tackled quickly, right? If he gets sacked right off the bat, you start to see a little bit of him being a little bit scared, playing a little bit scared. And at the end of the day, like I said, I gave this for him, and I gave this for everybody, and I let it be known. This year is the year that he has to prove to me he could do it. Right? He's got to win a playoff game. In all of his career, the last 8 years, he hasn't won a playoff game. So that's something that needs to happen this year. And he's got the pieces around, and he's got one of the best coaching staffs he's had in a while. Um, so at the end of the day, like my moderator here, Terrence says, it's practically no excuses this year. So for me, I think he can, and if he doesn't, then you start to question what you do from there.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I feel you 100%, especially when you bring over his one of his best friends in Devontae Adams, right? Like, at this point, you have to be able to put up those numbers and
yeah,
have at least I thought he should have 400 to 600 yards more this
Oh
year
yeah.
just because of having a Devontae Adams. So AFC West is loaded. You've got to be able to go 3-3 in that division to give yourself a chance. If you go 2-4, in my opinion, you're just running yourself out of the race. So you've got to go 3-3. You got the L last week, but then the Chargers come back and they get the L this week, and the Chiefs go ahead and get the win. And they only hold the Chargers to 17 points last night, which honestly makes me feel a little bit better about the Cardinals game. Maybe they are on a mission. This could be the Chiefs' year again or something. I don't know. And they went out and wanted to prove a point in week one, whereas some teams kind of try to skate by week one. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So we'll see. We'll see. So Derek Carr, you're not feeling Derek Carr very much. What about forks up Darian Butler? I've heard great things coming
Yeah.
out of him. He's one of my favorite players out of Arizona State. I knew whatever team he was going to go on, he was going to do good. So hearing the reports that he was doing good, he made the team. And he's going to make an impact this year is nothing surprising for me. But what are your thoughts on Darian Butler? Again, forks up, go Devils.
Yeah, you're an Arizona State fan, and I was gonna bring that up, so I'm glad you brought it up as far as
A
Darion Butler goes. And of course, like Raider Room said, their time has come. Both of our UDFA's, it's time to step up with our starting Pro Bowler linebacker out. And Denzel Perriman, you start to see Darion Butler and Masterson get the go right, get the green light. I thought they would have got it last week. It was kind of weird how last minute you hear Darion Butler gets inactive, and then you start to listen like. What's going on? Is he injured? No, he just got inactivated for some reason. He would have been used pretty well. I like the guy. He's a tackle for loss machine. I mean, that's what he was doing throughout the preseason. His coverage skills are pretty damn
his
good.
his
Um,
coverage skill are legit. Anytime he was in the zone at Arizona State, it seemed like you knew he was going to get a pick.
Yep, and I'm glad he's gonna get the goal. This it sucks on under these conditions having some people hurt, because I hate to see some of our players hurt. But at the end of the day, Darian Buller and Masterson, both UDFA's, are here to prove why they deserve to be on the team, and this is their game to do it. Hopefully, we see a lot of snaps from them. Of course, we run with two inside linebackers, so that means most likely our Devon Diablo and Jayon Brown will get the start. But hopefully, Masterson and of course Darian Buller get the goal there.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
so I was gonna say from outside perspective because we like to. It's one thing hearing it from a Raider fan yourself when it comes to Carr. I want to hear your perspective on Carr. What do you feel about Carr? Is Carr somebody that you think could take us over the hump as a Cardinal fan, or you don't see too much from him?
I don't see too much from him as far as being elite. I mean, I think he's
Mhm.
arguably in the top third of the league. Like, arguably, we could have that
Yeah.
conversation. He could be there. If not, he's definitely in that second tier for sure. Um, as far, man, I don't. When the game's on the line, I don't trust him.
Okay.
And when it comes down to it, that's what's really important, right? But again, what you pointed out, Jimmy Garoppolo got to the Super Bowl. Joe Flacco,
Mhm.
Rex Grossman back in the day with the Bears when they had just a dominant defense. So like it's not impossible. It's not. He's better than all those
Yeah.
quarterbacks. So they absolutely could with him. And there's no reason not to with the team around him now. Unfortunately, in the division that you're in, again, I
Yeah. It's
know
a tough
because
one.
we've been in the NFC West and they've been killer the last 2 or 3 years. You have to have a killer defense and you have to give yourself a chance. And man, I love me some Max Crosby. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I love Max Crosby.
Hey, Max Crosby is a beast, but we get to there. Let's talk about your quarterback, Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray versus Derek Carr. Practically, this is the quarterback matchup coming up. Of course, Kyler Murray is more of that mobile type of quarterback, a lot of run, um, heavy type of guy. For you, what do you think Kyler Murray will bring to the table come Sunday? And what did you see from him so far? And and an extra question: do you think he's the guy to get you over the hump?
He's dynamic. He is dynamic. He is electric. I think whatever happens to him should be more of a reflection on Cliff Kingsbury and his system as opposed to what Kyler Murray can do. Kyler Murray can make all the throws. You can joke about his 5'9", 5'10" stuff all you want, but people were raving about Drew Brees and Doug Flutie. People love
Mhm.
Doug Flutie because he was short, but people don't
Yeah,
like Kyler Murray. Like, because he's short? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, you should be applauding him that somebody your size is going out and doing something against
doing
these
so. Yeah.
woolly mammoths in the middle that you got to fight. You know what I mean? But he's absolutely electric. I mean, he's a little Super Mario guy in there. You can't he has star power all the time when he's in the pocket. It's really hard to wrangle him down. The unfortunate part is I don't know about him staying in the pocket and being able to make those throws, right? That's been kind of the knock on him, and that's been something that is supposed to be worked on. And it still seems like he wants to escape and do some stuff. Personally, I'm more of the type of coach that leans into things like that. And like, okay,
Mhm.
if that's what you want to do, let's move the pocket around more. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's lean into it as opposed to trying to change somebody's style of play. It's like taking a right tackle in the draft and putting him on the left side and he struggles. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, go figure, right? It's things like that that really frustrate me about coaching. But he can make all the plays. He can make the 70-yard throws, the bombs. He can scramble and make something happen. He can do the short routes. He can do everything. He has a dynamic electric arm, and that thing zips when he throws it. And it's
Yeah.
really fun to watch him play. He's very accurate. Unfortunately, the offense has to give him time.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury has to run the right plays, and Cliff Kingsbury is one of the worst play callers that I've seen in my time as an Arizona Cardinals fan, other than 2018 when we had Josh Rosen as a quarterback, but we're not going to get into that today.
Josh Rosen. But yeah, speaking of your offensive line and everything to do with your team right now, you have a lot of injuries. I've seen the injury report. Same with us. Let's actually go over it. I actually have it here. We'll break it down real quick because we had an injury report come out today. Let me get it real quick. Um, so of course, let me take this off of the. There we go. Of course, for the Raiders, we have of course Brandon Bolden, our second string running back, doubtful for the game. Most likely will not be there. Nate Hobbs, our best corner. His back, he had an injury with his back, but he is a full participant, so he'll be ready to go on Sunday. As far as the center goes, as Andre James, he had a concussion and did not participate all week, so that means he is out. Same with the other two. Trayvon Merrick, our starting safety here, with this hip, and Denzel Perriman, like I said a little bit earlier, our linebacker is also out. Sam Webb, our other corner, that would most likely have to step up this game. Um, with his ankle, he is a full participant as far as Friday. And hey, if you can break down your team and your injuries going on right now, what are some injuries we should keep an eye on?
Well, Rondale Moore and Andy Isabella being out isn't too big of a deal in my opinion. Andy Isabella doesn't play much. Rondale Moore hasn't been healthy since his freshman year in Purdue back in 2018 or 2019. So I'm about done with Rondale Moore personally. I am more worried about to see if JJ Watt can go.
Okay.
We really desperately need him, like desperately need him. And Jalen Thompson, our stud safety. I mean, we have arguably the best safety tandem in the league in Buda Baker and Jalen Thompson. I will fight anybody that doesn't think so. They are absolutely dynamic and missiles. They led the team in tackles last week. I think Buda had like 12 or 13 tackles.
Yeah.
I just love everything that they do. And they're some of our more veteran guys, and we really need them in the back. I am curious about Trayvon Mullen, who you know a lot about. Do you have any little tidbits on Trayvon Mullen, who wasn't able to play last week?
Yeah, people label me. It's funny actually. I knew this question was gonna come up. They label me as the number one Mullen hater, because I'm not as high as him, high on him like others. But to give you some positives, not to be all biased because I don't really like him. He's great in man coverage. When healthy, the guy could excel at press man coverage, especially. He excels at. He had a phenomenal 2020 and 2021. He did have a little bit of injury concerns with his toe, and all of a sudden is just, is that toe fully healthy for you guys, right? If he's out there full 100%, like it looks like he most likely will play, he's of course gonna have a chip on his shoulder for getting traded. He's playing against his former team. He wants to show out. So I would say that's a positive. I would say his press man is positive. When you run him at zone, he is horrible. So if you have him out there at zone, I would be a little bit worried. But overall, the guy's great depth corner. For me, I haven't seen too much of him for to be the number one. But if you have him at number two, number three, he excels there. So in all honesty, hey, he's like I say, he's got a chip on his shoulder going into the race. So if there's one game he should come back to, it's this game, and I really hope he doesn't get an interception. Hopefully not, because I will go. I'll be fuming. But overall, he's a good number two, number three corner.
That's actually really good to hear as far as the cornerback playing man to man. You know, that's one thing that the Cardinals do is we do play a lot of press coverage. Didn't at all last week. We decided to play 10 yards off of every single damn receiver last week, and Patrick Mahomes just lit us up. So Great scheming, Vance Joseph, but we do a lot of press man, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that because that's something we desperately need.
Yep. And I see you guys have well, because you brought up Trayvon Mullen, let's bring up Chandler Jones. I know you're very familiar with Chandler Jones, man.
Who?
What do you expect
No,
from
I never heard of him before.
Yeah, of course, I'm pretty sure seeing him go was tough. You know, he's been there as a Cardinal for a very long time. What do you feel about Chandler Jones, man? I know I could already see it, but
Y'all got
how do you feel?
robbed. Y'all got robbed. Y'all got robbed. I'm fine passing that 20-30 million dollar
Okay.
salary, whatever that was, on to you guys. He played one good game the last 3 years, and that was week 1 against the Titans when he had
Mm,
5 sacks. He was out the year before, and we made up the sack production without them. I he's a name. That's what it was. He was a name. You can't put him in coverage at all. He's awful against the run. All he does is pressure the quarterback, which is great, which is what you need, right?
yeah.
But if you're not doing that consistently, and that's 9 out of 10 games, then what good are you, in my opinion? If that's the only thing that you can do, like if Chandler Jones comes off the edge and he beats probably Kelvin Beachum, who's our right tackle, Kyler Murray is going to have a field day because Chandler Jones cannot get to Kyler Murray unless the pocket is completely collapsing, and that's a different story. If it's one-on-one and he sees him coming, bye, Chandler. Like, I'm going to that side of the field every single time. He is, yeah, he is 100% overrated and washed at this point. And he had a great run. Don't get me wrong. He had a great run, a great
Mhm.
run. Best pass rusher in Cardinals history. Didn't get us into the playoffs to do anything. He didn't show up last year. We made the playoffs one time during his run. So to
Yeah.
me, that's more of an indictment on the team and not about Chandler Jones, but it's definitely a talking point. So
Mhm.
I was happy to get his salary off. Unfortunately, at this point, I would have rather have kept him
Yeah.
because we didn't do anything to upgrade pass rushing in the offseason. We didn't do a damn thing. So we might as well have kept him and at least had the name out there, right? At least had the
Yeah.
fear of that. People have to game plan against that, but we didn't even do that. So overall, we're going to be okay. It's good that we don't have him and we can move on. I think y'all got fleeced though, and I think it's just smoke and mirrors. Can he come out and get 3 or 4 sacks tomorrow or a Sunday? Absolutely. Will
Yeah.
he? I would bet that he doesn't.
Gotcha, and it's crazy, Chandler Jones. I was a little bit high on him. I was like, "Yep, we're getting somebody that it was better than Yannick because Yannick was one of those guys that could get to the quarterback but cannot play the run." And Chandler Jones was somebody that I seen could play both. But then when he came in, and you start to see a little bit of things, and especially week 1, he was non-existent week 1. I mean, usually when you don't hear people's name, it's usually a good thing, but for him, it was a really really bad thing. He couldn't get to Justin Herbert. It looked like Rashawn Slater, one of the best tackles in the league, got the best of him. Um, and at the end of the day, he needs to step up on this Sunday. And of course, he needs to prove it. He needs to prove why he's worth the money and stuff like that. Of course, we have a young. I seen it in the chat earlier. We have a young guy right behind him, in Malcolm Kuntz, that has a lot of great abilities. So he's somebody that might get rotated a lot with Chandler Jones. And I feel like just Chandler Jones being that veteran brings a lot of knowledge to these rookies, to these young guys. So that's a plus, right? So I hope Chandler Jones could get revenge, just like you would think Trayvon Mullen would get revenge. But we'll see which ex player will get that
I
green
would
light on
I
Sunday.
would tend to bet that if both guys are healthy, right? Like
Hmm.
if Trayvon's toe is hurting and he's not 100%, it's a different story. But I would bet that Trayvon Mullen would have more impact plays this specific game than Chandler Jones. In theory, we should be able to plan and scheme against him. Like, okay, we'll take out the inside or make sure he goes to his outside, something like that, right? And with cornerbacks, you say, hey, I know Derek Carr can or can't do ABC, you know what I mean? So in theory, you would think that Trayvon Mullen would have the upper edge on Chandler Jones in this,
Hmm.
but hey, you never know. Maybe Chandler Jones has all the information on the weak ass Arizona offense, and they're like, hey, whenever he says this is what's going to happen.
Hmm.
So watch out for it. So that could be a
Yeah.
factor for Chandler Jones.
So speaking of your offense, right? And speaking of
What
defensive
offense?
line in general, what off the offensive line. Let's talk about the offensive lines on both. I think that's I would say for us is a very very concerning factor. very concerning of the offensive line to see if they do good against your guys' pass rush. Talk to me a little bit about your guys' offensive line. I know you guys have Ronnie Hudson, that I think he's on the decline. He should have retired, but that's just my opinion. What do you feel about your offensive line heading into
It
um,
it feels
Sunday?
like Rodney Hudson doesn't wanna play football. There was the issue when he was with you guys,
Mhm.
comes to Arizona year 1, then after year 1 of signing an extension, he doesn't show up at all until training camp, and then we weren't even sure if he was ready to go then. Did not have a good game on Sunday. It just doesn't feels like his heart is in it. I don't know the guy, I'm not in the locker room. This is just my perception of it, right? As far as the rest of the offensive line, if Justin Pugh is out there, I feel pretty good, but they did nothing, even with Justin Pugh out, and we had 4 out of 5 starters. They did nothing to slow down the Kansas City attack. The tackles were the bright spot, if I were to say anything. You know, Kelvin Beachum on the right side, and the dude that we just signed to an extension that my brain is I can't think right now for whatever reason. I'll look him up right now, but that was the bright spot. In my opinion, Humphreys, DJ Humphreys.
Humphreys. Yep.
Um, that was the bright spot for us on the offensive line. You know, we were able to put them on an island and they were able to succeed. Our interior was a completely different story. So hopefully with Pugh coming back, that might be able to do something. Hopefully Rodney Hudson can figure out whatever's going on and go
Yep.
out there and be a factor. Maybe this is a game that motivates him and he can turn the corner, right? Going back to the Raiders.
Mhm.
Maybe I would doubt it at this point from what I've seen from him. But again, you never know. So the tackles are the bright spot. The interior is weak. So it's good that you guys are better
Yep.
on the outside than you are on the interior. And maybe that
Yep.
can hopefully set up some of the run for us with big James Conner. Like if James Conner can go in there and get 3 to 5 rush yards up the middle,
Mhm.
oh man, that'd be perfect for us because we did nothing on the run last week.
Yeah, and I see all my moderators dropping the links. I appreciate that. This is his YouTube right here. He's
Thank you,
on
thank
Fire
you.
Podcast, so if you guys can go hit that subscribe button for him. Also in the description, actually, I put his Twitter. You want to go follow him on Twitter as well? It's in the description there. Shout out to all my mods and everybody in the chat. Salute to you guys, man, being here on a Friday night. I appreciate you guys, and you know, and you bring up a good point. Our interior D line has been something that hasn't gotten a push, and to hear your guys' interior O line is not that good. Hopefully, we could get that push. Of course, I
Yeah.
would like to. I would like to see some of our rookies um, get the go as far as Neil Farrell. I know Cleve Farrell had a pretty damn good game last week. I would like to see more of Jonathan Hankins. So that's probably more people that are more healthy than what they were last week. So hopefully they could get that push in the interior and our defensive ends. Max Crosby. You know, you talked about how you like Max Crosby earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Let's think of the matchup. I'm guessing, knowing where Max Crosby lines up, it will most likely be Kevin Beachum against Max Crosby, if I'm not mistaken. Whether that is, how do you feel about the matchup? Whether it's DJ Humphreys or because we put Max Crosby everywhere. So, how do you
I'm
feel about
hoping
the
it's
matchup?
more on DJ Humphrey's side. He's really progressed. I'm really happy with him as being our franchise left tackle for the next 5 to 8 years, however long it is. I have no concerns about him, 100% comfortable with him lining up against anybody, so I hope Max is on that side, and I hope Chandler Jones goes against the younger, if you will, guy in Kelvin Beachum. So that's kind of my hope. And then if he's on that side, if Kyler Murray is facing with the left shoulder downfield, he'll be able to see Chandler Jones that way. You know what I mean? And be able to do some things going on the right side. So I hope that's the way it turns out. Will it? I'm not 100% sure. Kelvin Beacham's like a year younger, so it's not too much of a difference. But yeah, that's how I hope. So I hope it's Chandler Jones going over the right tackle and Max Crosby over the left tackle. That would be the ideal matchup for the Cardinals. So if you see that and they're not getting pressure, kind of just watch out for that. And then we'll see what Max does if he's going all over and if he can get any presence on whatever side he goes to, then that's going to be the kind of their sticking point in my opinion.
Yeah. Um, and your secondary. How do you feel about your secondary? Seeing the film, I went over film on your guys' game, and I've noticed a little bit of I guess weak points on your secondary. Not Buda Baker at all, because I think Buda Baker is a phenomenal safety, and of course, um besides that, also we talked a little bit about Trayvon Mullen and then Jalen Thompson, if he's healthy, are great players on the team, and Isaiah Simmons. But besides that, how confident you are with your secondary heading into Sunday against of course, Hudson Renfro, uh, Devontae Adams, and of course Darren Waller.
Hunter Renfrow should be able to tear us up. I mean, if we can throw on Marco Wilson and a healthy-ish Trayvon Mullen, I feel a little bit more confident on Devontae Adams, right? I feel a little bit better on that because he will get some help over the top from either Buddha or Jalen Thompson, whoever it may be. But you should absolutely see a field day by Hunter Renfrow. I almost can promise it because what we're going to do is we're going to try to get Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons
Mhm.
into that cornerback slot position. And whether it's trying to line up with Renfro or trying to line up with Waller, they feel like they have the advantage. And that's the Cardinals, I mean. Unfortunately, when it comes down to it, we've seen Simmons have some real issues. And as I said before, our Vance Joseph, our defensive coordinator, likes to drop the nose tackles in some of these weird situations. So I expect those guys to have a bigger impact than on the outside. Obviously, I could be completely wrong, as I usually am. So take this, with a grain of salt. But Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller are going to be a problem unless this is the week we scheme correctly, which could
Yeah.
happen, but I doubt it. So if I was a betting man, I would be starting Renfrow all day long on your fantasy football, even though everybody says kind of drop him right now because his target share is going to be down. But this
Yeah.
week, that should absolutely be up because Cooper Cup lights us up every single time. I mean, guys in the slot that are dynamic will light up the Cardinals. And that's something to keep in mind. And it's unfortunate because we have Byron Murphy Jr. there. Byron Murphy, the Washington Husky native. He is a killer. He's a killer in the nickel, but they want to move him to the outside because again, we have decided to not pursue any free agents to really shore up that defensive back room. And it's a damn shame because if Byron Murphy was playing nickel, I'd be like, dude, Renfro's getting one pass for 5 yards and 7 targets. That's what would happen. But no, Byron Murphy's going on the outside where he's not as good, unfortunately. And this is what's going to happen. And unfortunately, we signed Jeff Gladney in the offseason and he passed away. He's like 23 years old, played with the Vikings for 2 years, and we were really high on him. So that was sad. And they still didn't do anything to help it out. On the flip side of that, Antonio Hamilton, who is out. I don't know if you heard about him. He was a guy that he was kind of a roamer going
Yeah.
to team, and he had a kitchen accident. It was kind of similar to what y'all went with not Antonio Holmes, the Antonio Brown. Why am I
Brown.
spacing?
Yep. Yep.
With the burn marks and everything, except this was legitimate. Like I guess he
Yeah.
was cooking pasta or something, and he spilled boiling water all over himself, second-degree burns. Last week he was just able to put his shoes on for the first time. And so he's starting to get back in there and do what he can do. So he's going to be out, I think, for another 2 to 4 weeks. But he was having apparently the best camp out of anybody. So if Antonio was coming in and he was a strong considerate to be that other cornerback, you have Marco Wilson, a second-year guy from Florida, who I'm a big Marco Wilson fan. He is starting to get it. I think he's a tough guy. I really like what he does. And then you have Trayvon Mullen. So like those three for the outside corners, I actually really like. Unfortunately, they've decided to put Byron Murphy out there as well too, and then they put middle linebackers in at corner or at slot corner, or they're going to bring in Jalen Thompson or Buddha as that slot
Yeah.
corner. And to me, that just doesn't work. And that's where everything goes wrong. So look out for the slot, look out for the crossing routes. Those should be able to get you guys something. Anything downfield, I mean, 50-50 in my opinion. So I know that's just a bevy of information. So there you go.
Yeah, and no, that's music to my ears because we know what Renfro could bring to the table, right? But in all honestly, it's all up to our quarterback to give him the ball. Last week we seen him just go after Devontae Adams, which was kind of a little bit expected because that's his best friend, and he got it's like a shiny new toy, and you get to play with it. But in all honesty, I hope he could bounce back and he could stop, just looking at Devontae Adams because like you said, if these other guys have the ability to get open that we know we can, and we've seen it multiple times last week, we just need it all depends on Carr. And that's what I'm kind of a little bit optimistic with Carr. I'm kind of like, this is your chance. You talk the talk. You went in press conferences, said you were aggressive, that you knew right off the bat who you were going to. Um, but now you got to prove it on the field. A quarterback doesn't just look at one person, and that also falls on the offensive line to get it done right. Um, your pass rush. Speaking of that, going into that, and actually before I get to that, let's get to a couple of comments real quick. Um, Sorry if I skipped anybody, man. Ray says, Eric, this is important. Film study shows that the Chargers were using a six offensive lineman player lined up on Crosby's side on every pass. That is why we didn't get to Herbert. We need to do the same thing. I don't think Josh McDaniels will do it at all. I think they're going to stick with five. If anything, it would be a two tight end set with one of the tight ends blocking, of course. And he says Max not catching up to Murray, though. We got to bottle him up. And
Yeah,
that's
that's what
something
you
I
got to do.
seen. Yeah, I seen a lot of blitzes from the Chiefs last week, if I'm not mistaken. I seen that was something that I want Patrick Graham to do this week, with Jonathan Abram and people like Amik Robertson blitz Kyler Murray, because in order to handle a really athletic quarterback like Murray is, you have to do exactly bottle him up and contain him. Um, can he run for 100 yards easily? Yeah, he can. I just hope that we can have the right game plan against him. And all honestly, when we go into Sunday, I would like to see more blitzing than last week, especially playing a quarterback like Kyler Murray. Um,
Yeah, and there's a really big emphasis on trying to keep Kyler in the pocket as far as the Cardinals are concerned to stay there and start making those throws and don't be that guy like I mentioned earlier. So if you're staying in the pocket and your defensive line can stick to their gaps and have the outside just stick to the outside and cause chaos in the interior, that's how you can get them. That's how you'll be able to get them down.
mhm. And let's talk about our offensive line now against your pass rush, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
Hey, our offensive line was something that last week, and the last few years actually have been a lot concerning. We do lose our center, so you'll most likely see our rookie Dylan Parham out of Memphis go into that starting role. I would think so. As far as that, Lester Cotton, John Simpson, Colton Miller, and Illuminor, I would like to see Munford instead of Illuminor, but we're rotating a lot of offensive linemen during the game. So, hey, talk to me about this pass rush you got. I know JJ Watt is a maybe. I would not like to see him, but it looks like there is a big possibility that he might be there. Talk to me a little bit about your pass rush.
I want to give a shout out to all you guys is following. I mean, I have a small podcast, He's on Fire podcast. Obviously like NBA Jam, we kind of go with that flow over there. We only have like 259 subscribers, and I just checked, and we got 261, and it's got to be from you guys sharing out my stuff. So I really appreciate your followers. We're actually going to go on live after this show, and we're going to be previewing it as well too. Life has been crazy on my end, so we haven't been potting as much as we'd like to over the summer. But we're going to go live and we're going to preview as well too, and then talk about some Phoenix Suns Robert Sarver situation, because that's going crazy. So join us after this on my link as well too. But as far as our pass rush is concerned, if JJ Watt's the key to this. I mean, he's the playmaker, right? He's the one that takes all the focus off of everybody else. You know what I mean? So if we can get two guys honing in on JJ Watt, that really frees up everybody else to be able to do other things. And that's what we need. Unfortunately, he only played 6 or 7 games last year. He hasn't played this year. And it's the JJ Watt experience, and that's what's going on. My hot take of the year was JJ Watt plays 14 games this year. That was my hot take, and I'm already down one, so really can't miss too much more. But if he plays, let's see what kind of impact he has on other players. And not so much can JJ Watt get 3 sacks, strip fumble, whatever it may be. What do the other guys do, right?
Yeah,
Number 2, Zach Allen, the 4th-year player at Boston College. He's like mini JJ Watt.
yeah,
Watch out for him. He has been a beast. That's the only upside on the defensive line, in my opinion. Other than maybe Rashard Lawrence, who's also an interior lineman, he's been great against the run. So not so much pass rush, which is what we're talking about. As far as the outside is concerned, Marcus Golden, if you don't know who Marcus Golden is, everybody looking up, yep, does Arizona
yep.
still have Marcus Golden? Sure do. Junkyard dog. We're going to get him locked up for a while. When he got traded back to the Cardinals from the Giants, he said it was his best day ever. He's a Cardinal for life. You love having players like that on your team that love being a Raider,
Yeah.
love being a Laker or Sun player, whatever it is. They love it. They breathe it. He's that kind of guy. He's not going to go out and get you 12 sacks a year. He's going to get you to 6 to 10 range, but he's going to bring all the energy, all the fight, the beast mode type of plays. He's going to do that for you. And you love a guy like that. After that, my favorite player coming off the edge, and you guys probably don't even know who this is, Dennis Gardeck. You ever heard of him?
Okay.
Dennis
For me, no,
Dennis
but
Gardeck is a little 6 foot, 230 pound dude. He's got Thor hair coming out the back, blonde Thor hair, so you'll know who he is, number 45
Okay, yeah,
from college Sioux Falls. Just a little guy out there
little,
just
yeah,
making plays. He is flying all over the place, and he gives you more energy than either team combined. He is one of those players, and he will come in with 3 or 4 sacks randomly. He's so shifty. He's able to come off the edge and then all of a sudden go onto the inside, and before you know it, Carr's about to wind up and the ball's being knocked out from behind him. So watch
yeah,
out for Dennis Gardeck. And it's only going to be a few plays because he goes in on special packages. He's not a 3-down type of player, but I love what Dennis Gardeck brings to it. After that, Victor Dimukeji, he showed a lot of things in the preseason, especially only being a rookie drafted in 2021. So Dimukeji came on strong. He's only 22. I expect a better season out of him. And those are the guys to kind of look for. Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons will be flying all over the field for better or for worse, whether in coverage.
yeah.
So expect them to hit gaps and whatnot every once in a while. And Zaven Collins might come off the edge every once in a while, but for the most part, you're going to see Zach Allen, JJ Watt, Victor Dimukeji, Dennis Gardeck, and of course, Marcus Golden. Maybe a rookie Cameron Thomas here or there, something like that. So that's what you're going to expect. I don't expect a huge sack day for us because I just don't think we
Mhm.
have it in us this year. But that's completely dependent on our defensive coordinator, right? So
Yeah.
we could show up with 7 sacks, though. We legitimately could, but I just don't see it.
Uh, Before I give my take on that, shout out to Francisco Landa, but I call him Frankie, a really close friend of mine in real life. Shout out to him and congrats, brother, on your newborn. Shout out to him. He just had a kid himself, so shout
Hey,
out to you, man.
congratulations! Congratulations!
I appreciate you, brother. That means a lot. And of course, gotta show the love. You already know, man. So we talk about this offensive line on the Raiders now because that pass rush looks, and I think they might get a sack or two. Just knowing how it's been this whole season so far, even through the preseason,
Oh, they
to the week
You
one.
you
Um,
you guys will get 3 to 5 sacks, and that's gonna be because of Cliff Kingsbury calling not the best plays
yeah,
and Kyler getting confused or not going to his progressions or something like that. That's what's gonna happen. So I think it'll be less about you guys getting the pressure and more about us not drawing up good plays
yeah.
that take 3 to 4 seconds to even reveal themselves
Mhm.
downfield. So you're gonna get some coverage sacks for sure.
Yeah, and for our offensive line, like I said, we're gonna have a rookie starting his first start, so hopefully he could get it together against a pass rush that could cause noise if the offensive line is not intact like it was last week. And of course, you go against Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. They're one of the best dynamic, I think, on paper, but so far they've been proving it. Um, but now they're entering a Arizona Cardinals team that I feel like, without JJ Watt, it's a little bit less of a blow, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
still think that you guys could cause a lot of pressure. And as far as our secondary against your receivers, I know one of the talk of the towns before the season even started was DeAndre Hopkins, losing a lot of games. I heard good things about Greg Dortch. Hopefully, I said that right. They said that he needs to step up. I've been seeing that a lot. Marquise Brown, you guys, of course, got him in a trade. And then AJ Green coming out of the Bengals to the Cardinals, and of course Andy Isabella, but I think he's out, right? So,
Yeah.
and honestly, us we're missing on one of our starting corners, of course, and Anthony Aver, he's gone. So most likely we'll see some UDFA's like Sam Webb. We'll see some young guys like Amik Robertson out there. Of course, Nate Hobbs, our best corner, will most likely go on Marquise Brown. But besides that, talk to me a little bit about this wide receiver core. How
What
confident are you? Are
well, real quick, Nate, who are the guys that are unrestricted free agents that you brought in?
Sam Webb?
Okay.
Sam Webb is the UDFA.
Okay,
Um,
gotcha.
yep.
And then your other corners, Jayon Brown.
No, that's the linebacker.
Oh,
That's our
I
linebacker.
put yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know why I looked on that one.
Mhm.
So Nate Hobbs corner,
Rock
Amik
Ya-Sin.
Robertson. Yep.
Rock Ya-Sin will start on the other side. He came from the Colts, and then most likely somebody like a Meek or Sam Webb will get the go on the other side.
Interesting, interesting. So I'm curious how Marquise Brown plays. I mean, he's best friends with Kyler Murray. I expected a little more out of week 1, but then again, everybody played bad. So I'm curious to see how that goes. AJ Green had very little target share after being a pretty overall reliable receiver opposite of DeAndre Hopkins over on the right side. So you'd expect him to get some. If he's in one-on-one, Kyler Murray will look his way every single time.
Mhm.
So watch out for that. That could be a potential good thing for us on our side. And then we've got to get Zach Ertz and Max Williams involved from the
Mm.
tight end position. Like, we really need to see that. I want to see more of that. If we can get Zach Ertz 7 receptions for 70 yards and maybe a tutty, that is a win for us. You know what I mean? Because Marquise Brown is going to do what Marquise Brown does, right? He's gonna
Yeah.
be flying down the field, and sometimes he just speed kills. Sometimes he just can't cover it, and that just happens. But that's going to be the key for us: is how is Marquise Brown and AJ Green going to be able to do? And then Zach Ertz up the middle. That's what I'm going to watch out for. Greg Dortch. I've loved Greg Dortch for 3 years, and I've only loved him because he's been in the practice squad, and in the preseason we saw him do a lot of things. So to see him go out and be our number one wide receiver is, one, not a good thing. It shouldn't be like that. It should be somebody else. But also, it's like, hell yeah, man, you do you. That's
Yeah.
awesome to see. You've been working hard for 3 years. Now you're finally on the team. He's got a chip on his shoulder, so he could come out with 2 touches and 120 yards as well too, if you are highly focused on these other guys. So watch out for him. He's a fun little story to hear about. So anybody that doesn't know Greg Dortch, go ahead and pay attention to him and what he does. If he makes a play on your favorite team, like, don't take it personal. This is a guy that's been trying to get on the field, and it's been awesome to watch. He's only 5'8", but he's a killer, man. He is an absolute killer. So it's fun to watch him play. And he's only 5'8" in his second year
Yeah.
from Wake Forest, which is awesome.
Yeah, most likely they would put in Meek then in that case if he is that short for the NFL 5'8" against Meek Robertson, our other short corner. But there is one thing I forgot to mention as far as our cornerback room. He's of course on the practice squad though. And we are familiar with him because we all know that play when the Saints played the Rams that one year in the NFC Championship, and he caused the passing interference that wasn't called. Nicole Roby Coleman, of course, got signed by us to the practice squad. That could be a guy to monitor that might get the green light to start actually on Sunday. So that is something to just monitor. Besides that, I see he says, "Where's Cosby at?" He is not here. He's in practice squad. He's on the practice squad. But besides that, I'm excited to see how our corners line up against your receivers. Of course, if DeAndre
Yeah.
Hopkins was out there, that would have been a little bit of more, I would have been a little bit more worried, but still, you guys do have some dynamic players like Marquise Brown that could take the top off of a defense. AJ Green, that when healthy, if he stays healthy, could bring a lot of plays to the table. And Greg Dortch, I've been hearing a lot of good things from him. I got to see what he could do on the field. The running game, that's something that I forgot to mention. The running game on both sides. You of course got James Conner, we got Josh Jacobs. We barely became a running back by committee. Are you guys a running back by committee, or you're more of a workhorse on James Conner?
Well, we definitely were last year with Chase Edmonds and James Conner, and then Chase Edmonds goes down, and James Conner did what James Conner did last year, right? He had an amazing year, and I love the James Conner story as well too. Again, if James Conner goes out, has 2 touches against your favorite team, don't be mad, but don't hate on what James Conner does, especially fighting after cancer and all that stuff coming out of Pitt, and what he did for the Steelers, after all that. He's a great story. So that's another thing I'm really looking forward to seeing. But they didn't do anything in the run game last week. Absolutely nothing. They signed Darrell Williams from the Chiefs as well too, as kind of that hybrid player that can get 500 yards on the ground and in the air for 1,000. And he didn't show up at all. He didn't play a single snap. So Benjamin forks up another Arizona State Sun Devil player. He's the number 2, and he's looking very electric right now. But everything is 100% on James Conner, and I don't like that. I don't think James Conner is the type of workhorse back where you can give him the Derrick Henry type of numbers and have him be okay. I think you just need to sprinkle him in here or there, along with along with Darrell Williams. We also have a guy named Jonathan Ward. Jonathan Ward is a guy. Right now he's our fourth running back, but he is a big guy that can run people over. I think he's 6'1" or something like that, 200 plus pounds. He can run people over. I really like what he does. So we have a lot of really good running backs. I mean, it's the deepest running back unit that we've had since I can remember. I mean, there was the David Johnson and the Chris Johnson year back in 2015, and that was really special to watch both of them. This could be arguably a little bit better, maybe not as dynamic, but we've really got to see what we can do against your interior line. We've got to be able to move a couple guys around and do some things to be able to open that up. Because again, if James Conner can get 3 to 5 yards and it's 2nd and 5, that's going to open it up to go against your weak secondary as of right now, right? And
Yeah.
that's where everything can change for the Cardinals if we can do that. But are we going to open it up on the interior, or when we get into 3rd and long, is Max Crosby and Chandler Jones going to feast? That's going to be what kills it for the Arizona Cardinals offense.
Yep, yep. And right here, Raider critique. Shout out to you, brother. He says, "How is the Cardinals' run defense? I know they put up, I think, 120 yards on you guys. And of course, our running game, we didn't run too much last week, which I couldn't believe my eyes. Talk to us about this run defense that you guys got.
Gaping holes last week, gaping holes. So I don't know if that has to do with scheme or what was going on. We weren't ready, but gaping holes. Our run defense was an issue last year. It was huge. It was one of the biggest reasons why we had our tumultuous downfall. It was awful. It was god awful. And they did nothing to shore it up this year. We didn't sign anybody on the inside. We just hope for development, which, that's kind of what you do hope for. You do hope for development, but we did nothing to shore it up. We got gashed last week. You guys should have success in the run. You
Mhm.
should. And if you don't, that will be on what you guys are doing, because we're
Yeah.
not a good run stopper. With that said, I did see some positive things from Rashard Lawrence and Lecky Fotu, our two interior defensive linemen. So maybe they are starting to step up a little bit, but we got gashed last week. So if you guys end the day with 68 yards, I'm going to call this a Cardinals victory on Sunday.
And yeah, it's crazy because we went against the run last week. I think we could have won if we would have ran the ball a couple more times against the Chargers. Of course, this week we do have Brandon Bolden going, most likely not going to play on Sunday, so that means most likely one of our rookies, either Zamir White that came out of Georgia, is going to get the green light, or from UCLA, Brendan Brown gets the go, or maybe both. And I hope that when they come out, they explode and they use them right. I didn't like the way the coaching staff used this running back by committee, because we talked all off season. It's gonna be a running back by committee, and we're gonna run a lot, and we're gonna establish the run. And last week we didn't. We hardly even ran. So, and you bring out four running backs, and you only use two of them, and the other two, one of them you have blocking, and that's all they did, and then the other one didn't do anything because you didn't bring them to the field.
Yeah.
So this is all on mostly the coaching staff to give the go. Hey, run the ball more, which, if we seen the right tape as far as me and the coaching staff for the Raiders, they would know run the ball right. So that's something to monitor to see how they come across the Cardinals defense. And on top of that, we go on to, of course, last but not least, um, your keys to victory. What is your three keys to victory for the Arizona Cardinals come Sunday?
One, it's gonna start and end with Cliff Kingsbury, in my opinion. Uh, do they draw up the correct scheme on offense? Are they trying to be too cute? I have a saying. I call him college coach Cliff Kingsbury with all K's, and he does a lot of stupid things, man. He does a lot of like throwing screenplays to AJ Green. Like, why would you throw it to AJ Green? Like the oldest and slowest dude on the outside. Let's throw a screen pass to him. Like, good job. Or it'll be like 4th and 8, and they'll run a QB draw. And you're like, what the
Mhm.
hell are you doing? It's just things like that. So it's 100% going to be on Cliff Kingsbury. Second, can we contain your wide receivers? And third, kind of right after that, would be, can we contain the running game? So those are my three keys. So I guess in a sense, it's going to be on coaching. Can Vance
Yeah.
Joseph scheme, and can Cliff Kingsbury scheme? So it's kind of three, but it's really just two, in my opinion. That's what I got. What are your, after hearing my spiel on everything and how awful we are, what are your three keys?
Honestly, the number one thing is the run game. We gotta get it going. You cannot go into week two doing the same thing you did week one and now run the ball too effectively. The Chargers, they didn't look too good even against the Chiefs when it came to the run game. So that should already show you, run the ball against the Chargers. On top of that, heading into the Cardinals, knowing that they don't got that so good run defense either, you gotta run the ball.
Yeah.
Second, this goes with it too, and it's similar to yours, the coaching staff. I'm not 100% sold on the coaching staff, just based on the ways they handled last week. And it is only week 1, so I'm not gonna explode or say, "Oh, they're not it." But this is week 2, they should know what to go about in this game, and hopefully Josh McDaniels and especially Patrick Graham heading into here contain Marquise Brown and of course, contain Kyler Murray and get to him because
Yep.
last week we didn't get a single sack on Justin Herbert. This week we got to be able to go after Kyler Murray because if not, and you give him an open enough gap, I bet you Kyler Murray could easily run for more than 10 yards easily. Um, as far as that goes, my third key is Derek Carr. If Derek Carr could be the right Derek Carr, I know he could be, we could really, really, really well win this game convincingly. If he shows the same thing he has shown last week, it could be a long day for us, of course. The your secondary could take advantage of that easily, just based on how Derek Carr was underthrowing. He was missing receivers. He was looking at only one receiver, and when you're only looking at one receiver, that gives the defense a good nod that hey, he's only looking at there. Let's try to pinpoint to that receiver, which was Devontae Adams, and let's try to pick off Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And those are my three keys as far as that goes.
And I think what's gonna happen in this game is exactly what you and I are talking about, to be honest with you. Which way will it sway? Again, it's gonna be 100% on coaching. So I'm excited for it. It should be a fun game, or it's gonna be a very frustrating game. Like one of our
Oh
fan
yeah.
bases is gonna come on a podcast and be like, "What the fuck did I just watch?" That's what's
Hey,
gonna
that's
happen.
facts. And Terrence, you're right. Can McDaniel's have this team prepared? He didn't have them prepared last week. Hopefully, he could get prepared this week, right? And that's the question. Same with the
Kingsbury wasn't
Cardinals.
prepared either,
Yep.
right?
You got two coaching staffs that gotta prove themselves in week 2 to come out the gate. And of course, the very, very last thing before we head on out here, first your score prediction. Well, actually, we'll go first with your record prediction for the Cardinals this year. What is your record prediction and the
I
score
predicted
predictions for Sunday?
Yeah, I predicted 8 and 9 for the Cardinals.
Okay.
I didn't have a lot of hopes in them at all. And then for this game, I think it's gonna be like 31-30 Raiders or 28-27
Okay.
Raiders or something like that. We are a better road team for what it's
Yeah.
worth. I mean, we were like I think we were like 8-1 last year on the road or something like that. We had a ridiculous record, and then at home we've lost like 6 straight home games. So something about going on the road, maybe the camaraderie, and we can go out and light y'all up. But I'm gonna say a 1 point loss in the high 20s, low 30s.
Okay, okay, and yeah, that's facts. What's crazy is I don't know if you said you seen the Raider game. There was a play where they did an end around and having Devontae Adams throw the ball. It didn't make any sense because you had Derek Carr blocking Joey Bosa. So I don't know what in the right mind did our coaching staff have for our quarterback to really go defend one of the best defensive ends in the league. So that's something the coaching staff needs to fix up. They can't be doing plays like that, especially if we're down against the Cardinals. You can't because they will take advantage of that, especially having smart players like Buda Baker, Isaiah Simmons, and if JJ Watt's out there, another good guy out there. So for us, I'm gonna give my score prediction. No offense, but we should convincingly beat you guys, realistically, speaking on paper. Especially with you guys going through a lot of things. You guys don't have your number one receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. And we know Kyler Murray's record without DeAndre Hopkins is very, very not so good. So hopefully we could take advantage of that. But besides that, I have us winning 31-17, but I would not doubt it just based on last week. I'm hoping it's not the same thing as last week. It would be a really, really close game. Of course, it's our home opener in Vegas, so that should give us a little bit of a hopefully a push of motivation. And on top of that, record predictions, I had us at 12-5 as far as the season goes, but just based on week 1, it might drop to 11-6 for me. So
I personally had you guys finishing last in the
okay,
AFC
a lot
West.
of us, yeah,
And it's because I just didn't trust Derek Carr, and you see the
yeah,
upgrades around, and I just felt like the other teams did a little bit more than they did, even though they got Devontae Adams. So, but that's me. And hey, I'm gonna scoot off here. It's been
for
great
sure,
catching up with y'all. I
of
appreciate you
course.
guys. I got like 7 or 8 followers, so thank you. We're gonna go on the He's on Fire podcast now. My co-hosts are live as we speak, and I'm
Yep,
gonna go hop over there. You have
sounds
been
good.
great. Let's collab again soon.
Of
Good
course,
luck on
brother.
Sunday, and we'll chat soon, brother.
Same to you, man. I'll catch you later. But yeah,
Cheers.
that is his YouTube right there. They are going live to preview themselves, him and his co-host. That was a good fun time, man. It was a fun time really talking about it. I'm gonna be here for a couple minutes before I head on out. Just go back to the chat because we did skip a lot of questions. So if you guys have any questions or record predictions, I mean not record predictions, score predictions, let me know what they have. I want to see Hobbs follow up his dominant performance from last week. And yeah, he's going against Marquise Brown, right? He's going against Marquise Brown. Yes, he had us last. A lot of people have us last. So hopefully that's not the case, right? Um, but yeah, Russ and Denver just said, "Hold our beers. We want that fourth place." Yeah, their coaching staff is gonna hold it back desperately, right? We did start running the ball. Jacobs had almost 6 yards after that. Carr interceptions. They stopped running after that. Josh Jacobs started going in the second half, and then boom, right? He said, "Boo that man." It's time to crush the Redbirds. You already know what it is. ESPN just announced JJ Watt tore his calf muscle from stepping on Kyler's controller and is now out for a year. Kyler said, "No biggie. He has another controller." God damn. But that's all eyes on GSIG too, man. He does a lot behind the scenes work out here. And if you guys can hit that like button, please. If you guys can, if you guys enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button as well. Also hit Terrence's IG as well. But yes, if you guys can hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I appreciate everybody that joined me today. It was a fun live, man. I don't know about you guys, but I learned a lot about the Cardinals. It gives me a better view on what to expect on Sunday. And on top of that, tomorrow, West Side Experience, early AM, well not early AM, 12:30 Pacific Standard Time, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time will most likely be live. Me and Ern, and we will preview it as just Raider fans on the panel. Saturday. I mean Sunday's game on Saturday, right? On Saturday, which is tomorrow, we will preview it on the West Side Experience tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And I appreciate everybody that joined me today. Like I said, I'm sorry if I didn't get to everybody's question. Please come up tomorrow, and I'm gonna try to scroll back right now just in case I missed anybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Let me see what we got here. Eric, a question. A couple guys out for Sunday calling your boy Isaiah Palomau. It's a possibility, but I would use Isaiah Palomau as going against Zach Ertz. He's got the physical tangibles. He's easily in the uh in the slot, right? How are you gonna lose when it will be a game's first live game? That would be disrespectful. That's facts. His grandma and his grandparents are gonna be there, so hopefully they could ball out, right? Hopefully they could ball out, right? I would start Webb as slot. It could be Amik. It could be Coleman, right? Shout out to everybody in the chat though. I'm trying to scroll up to see if I missed anybody as far as questions goes. But they're gonna hide. Yes, the stunts and blitzes could be a tremendous thing on this offensive line. Hopefully, this offensive line could hold up. Right? It's another just a West Coast show. It's for everybody, man. It's just called the West Side Experience because of course Earn. It's West Side and I'm SC Experience. So you put both of it together, the West Side Experience, and it's based on it's based on Ice Cube and the West Coast connection. But yeah, I was a little bit under weather. That's why we kind of did a 1 hour show right here. So I'm gonna head on out. I'm gonna go take some medicine. Hopefully I feel better by tomorrow. So I greatly appreciate every single one of you guys, man. It means a lot to me that you guys stay tuned on a Friday night. I know a lot of people are busy, but the fact that we were 40, a good 40 throughout means a lot to me. So on that note, y'all, blessings to you guys all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned a lot about the Cardinals. And me and him will collab soon again. Shout out to you guys, man. Hope all is well and blessings to you guys. Remember to stay hydrated. Tough times never last, but tough people do. And you guys are all some tough people. On that note, y'all, we are S Experience, aka your boy Eric, man. And yes, we need some sacks. We need to get to Kyler Murray. And the best thing to do that, blitz, blitz, blitz. I appreciate that, Mr. Took Your Soul. Shout out to you guys, man. The real MVPs. And on that note, like I said, S Experience, aka your boy Eric. And remember to always keep it positive. Peace.